Gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Everybody gon' vote. Comrade! Labor right, them a go down, bong. Them a go down, bong. Them a go down. Is that? Margie, him a God picking. No hope their work if you touch Margie. Margie, him a God picking. No hope their work if you touch Margie. We now vote for Labour. Orange we a come out in now. If you love the PNP, who no step out for Marky G. Jamaica just come along with we. People time come, people time come, people time is up.
Only thing that's on my mind is who's gonna run this town tonight.
Yeah, I say that we are. Pledge your allegiance.
Who's gonna run this town tonight?
Yeah, I say that we are.
We gonna run this town.
Make the trumpets play. Make the trumpets play.
Up in Southwest St. Anne, you can't find enough persons, laborers, to go and prepare to till the soil. So if you have adequate land, once it's not hilly terrain, it's flat, arable land, then you can bring in tractors and plow to help with the land preparation. So we're going to put these heavy-duty equipment in the production areas. That's one. Two, we are going to put funding at the PC Bank so that farmers can have access to resources to go out there and do what they want to do. When I say to a youngster that if you plant an acre of carrot, it takes you 300,000 for the cost of production to do everything from land preparation to harvesting. And if it yields 15,000 pounds per acre, which is the average yield, if you're selling that at $100 per pound, you're going to make $1.5 million. Having spent 300, so that's a profit of 1.2, and carrot maturity time is 3 months. So if you were to plant 10 acres, you'd make $12 million in 3 months. That's more than a teacher, or a doctor, or anybody like that would make. Somebody might be intrigued by that when I say it, but then they're going to need 10 times the 300. They're going to need $3 million up front to start. Most of our young people don't have access to that level of funding. So what we want to do is to put money at the PC Bank so they can have access to funding. We want to also look at insurance, because with climate change and the vagaries of weather, you're going to have longer drought periods, you're going to have more inclement weather, heavier rainfall, and people's produce are at risk, so you need to have some form of insurance in place. Did you know as well that even after the farmers go out there and produce, there still is 30% post-harvest loss, meaning after you've reaped what you produce, you still lose 30% of it because we don't have adequate storage. And so storage is also going to be a key component of what we do. In the short term, we have a plan for short term, and then we have a medium to long term plan. And irrigation, I'll say irrigation and then stop at that. In 1998, the PNP did what is called the National Irrigation Development Plan, which was to irrigate the arable lands in Jamaica, and we wanted to build 51 systems. We started out with a few of them, Hounslow and Seven Rivers, Hounslow in St. Elizabeth, Seven Rivers in St. James. And this government, since 2016, have been trying to implement the Essex Valley one and the Pedro Plain irrigation scheme. And you'd have seen a video a few weeks ago where the Minister of Agriculture said he was rebutting Julian Robinson because he's going to put 5,000 hectares on the irrigation. Well, yes. We have 120,000 hectares of arable land in Jamaica. So 5,000 hectares is literally just 3.5% of that, which will move it up from the 12% that it's at now to just over 15%. So there's still a need for us to focus on irrigation. So we're going to put a specific company in place that deals with building out the irrigation. And then we're also going to look at how do we get micro dams? How do we get ponds with pond liners? And I mean, how do we get assistance to persons to do the excavation and then assist them with the pond liners to rebuild the community catchment tanks and just rainwater harvesting system so that our farmers can go out there and increase their production and their yield.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell, for that reassurance and eye opener. Party leader, I know you're busy and I know probably you would have to, we're going to wrap up shortly, but just one final question to you, party leader Golding. 5 in 4. What happened to this administration plan to grow the economy by 5% in 4 years? That have failed. We have failed to grow our country by 1% the most. This is a failure from the Jamaica Labour Party. Can you explain to the country what you think may have happened to 5 in 4, sir?
Yes. So, in my view,
Yes.
the 5 in 4 was a aspirational target that they promoted shortly after they came to office in 2016, but they didn't understand what it would take to achieve that. One of the big things that where I think they've fallen down over the last 9 years is in driving efficiencies in the public sector, the delivery of services, and all sorts of regulatory requirements, the time frame it takes to get through those things. And, latterly, I was meeting with some influential business people towards the end of last year, and I was telling them of our plan, which is to form a task force with all the critical leaders from the public sector on it, which is the company or registered business. The certificate that comes back has all of those registrations on it, and you're ready to start doing business right away without having to run around to a number of different government offices. And you also get a TCC to begin, a tax compliance certificate to begin trading. So that was one of our innovations, and we had a significant improvement in the ease of doing business ranking. The JLP has basically abandoned that approach for the last 9 years, and that's been one of the reasons why we haven't had growth. Another reason, of course, is that there's too much corruption in the country, so that there's a lot of resources that are being misplaced, being spent in kickbacks and other forms of revenue diversion for friend and company, cronies, and so on. The nepotism of the system. And that is a big waste of public resources as well. And the crime and violence that spiked under the JLP for over the 9 years, which is only latterly started to come back. These are some of the things that have contributed to the lack of growth in the economy. And the 5 in 4 was never achieved. In fact, they came nowhere near it. Even the year before COVID started, because COVID got going right in early 2020 in Jamaica. 2019, there was virtually zero growth in the economy. And again, in 2024, we've had negative growth in the economy. And this is after Beryl, yes, and the rains in October, November. But other islands in the Caribbean that were very badly damaged by Beryl were able to achieve growth of 3, 4, and 5% per annum. So the excuse it just doesn't hold water. They just haven't got what it takes to fix the real things that need to be fixed for Jamaica to grow. And one of those things is having a cohesive society, an inclusive society, helping our farmers, building our human resources by fixing the education system and the training systems, and all of those things while maintaining prudent macroeconomic and fiscal management, which we started when we were the ones who put the fiscal rules into the law. We abided by them in the hardest of times, got the debt down from over 140% of GDP to 115% of GDP in just 4 years. And they have had to continue with that because it's in the law, and we're now at 68 or 69% of GDP. So there is some more fiscal space than there used to be, but there's inefficiency in the system so that the capital budget annually is not even being spent because they're unable to spend it because they can't get through the various tasks and stages that have to be complied with under the bureaucratic rules that we have. So we're essentially saying we're going to be more adept, more nimble, and more astute in fixing those bureaucratic problems. And I intend to lead that personally when I'm Prime Minister.
Well said, party leader. Thank you so much, as I said, for that reassurance. And as you know, party leader, Dr. Campbell and Senator Crawford, this is an interactive platform, and I could not invite you all here without at least taking one question from the public. And so I want to invite Trems, go right ahead and turn on your microphone and pose your question, please. Go ahead.
Everybody can hear me. Good morning.
Yes, can hear you.
Morning.
Morning.
Comrade leader, the consummate leader, I greet you well, sir.
Thank you.
I just basically have just one question. For the leaders that have gone before you, Comrade Portia Simpson Miller, PJ Patterson, they all left a legacy, a strong legacy behind for Jamaica. What would you want a Mark Jefferson Golding legacy to look like when you would have stepped away from the political arena?
Thank you for that question, Trent. Well, I think ultimately I would like Jamaica to be exhibiting more robust economic growth, generating wealth for our people, so that we've achieved a virtuous circle of development, inclusive and sustainable development, environmentally friendly development, but development underpinned by a strong economy that's generating wealth for all our people. And we're doing that through tackling the housing crisis at affordable housing. Our human capital investment is up and working well. Our people are better trained, more productive, and we've built out a logistics industry that anchors Jamaica into the global supply chain network, so that a lot of goods and services that the world needs can be provided right here, value-added services that generate good paying jobs for our people. And I believe that is really my mission, certainly over the first term of government, to try and get that up and running.
Proud legacy. Thank you for that question, Trems. Big up yourself. Jamikes, you're up next. You only can take 2 more questions. Go ahead, Jamikes.
Hey, thank you. Good morning to everybody. First, say thank you ever so much, Dre Bryan, for facilitating this platform where we are connected and closer to our leaders. We must say thank you ever so much for making it here. Mark Jefferson Golding, the next Prime Minister of Jamaica. Damian Crawford, the next Education Minister of Jamaica. And I say again, from Marcus Garvey, he said, a people without a knowledge, history, heritage, and their culture is like a tree without root. Mr. Golding, you have been constant and consistent about having Marcus Garvey's legacy being taught in our school from the basic level. So I must congratulate you for that. My question is, education has been a problem, with over $902 billion being unaccounted for in the last 9 years. Only 18% of our youth are able to get 5 subjects or more. My question to you, given the social and economical challenges faced by parents and the factors that negatively impact students academically wise with their performance overall, how can we look forward to a Jamaica with Mark Jefferson Golding led, with education at the helm? How can we look at education and transform it? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamikes. Well, you know, our education spokesman is on the line, but I will allow him to address that. But I would just say, from a preliminary observation, we are really looking to tackle the major challenges in education. And we want to get the early childhood development and primary school thing right, because that is where the problem starts. We need a strong remedial program in secondary to make up for the lost ground that has accumulated in early childhood and primary. And we need to make sure that the tertiary is affordable, so that that avenue for social mobility and from producing a more productive workforce is a pipeline which flows and which is inclusive of all Jamaicans. And all of our measures that we've outlined are addressing those real fundamental issues, so we can see a paradigm improvement in education. But I'm going to hand over to Damien and ask him to address your question more directly.
Yes, please. Yes. Chime in, Senator Crawford.
Yeah, man. Thank you, leader. Thanks for the question. Well, one of the major issues we have identified in our education system is the level of absenteeism. The Jamaica Labour Party government recently celebrated pre-COVID levels achievement of 22%, when chronic absenteeism is 10%. So absenteeism sufficient to cause for failure or reduced performance in education is suggested to be no more than 10%. We have deep rural absenteeism of 50%. We have rural absenteeism of 33%. And even within the urban space, the less traditional schools have absenteeism up to 23%. And so we have found that that is a major problem. It's for this reason that we have proposed 2 particular things to target absenteeism. One, it is the RIDE program. which is to ensure that there is up to $2,500 per child, targeting 20,000 initially, to ensure that they can get to school from their communities that might be distances from the places, and also affordability. It's important we identify that, because some people believe that affordability is the only reason for a person to find difficulty getting to school via transportation. But there's also a need to subsidize certain routes, because if you look at an area like a farming areas that don't have a lot of adults in transition, then you find the taxis don't see it as a reasonable route to ply, because a lot of adults are not leaving out, they're walking to their fields, and there's no two-way two-way passengers. So you only have passengers moving in one direction in the morning and then in the other direction in the night. So going back there with an empty load would need subsidy for that person to ply that route. Now, the proposals that we have made is 20,000. The JLP's counter proposal is 7,500. The proposals that we have made is to incorporate the private taxi persons. The JLP is suggesting to compete with them with 100 buses. Now, if you look at 100 buses at 50, that's 5,000 maximum. Now, those buses can do more than 2 routes and it would not be free. However, they can do every space. So the 12 bus in St. James will run a few routes. It won't be able to come from every single where in St. James.
Yes.
However, there would be private entities that move from that. That is one. The second thing is to target 56% of our population that research has shown to have food challenges, some severe, some less severe, and that is what our school feeding program will do. So we'll be approaching the absenteeism from that level to make sure that the reasons for absence are removed, meaning affordability and the ability to get to school and to eat. The second,
I just want to say to any Jamaican, we really and truly start listen to a Queen Ifrica voice. Whether you're Labour right, PNP, regular Jamaican who just want to vote for a change, you see the next election here will come up under no circumstances whatsoever can you vote in back the Jamaica Labour Party into government. This part of this message is for the loyalists them too.
False promise. On the things that we are putting back in the office. On the things that we are novice. On the better listen to this. Vote them out cause them not see we when we hungry. Vote them out from Kingston to country. Vote them out cause when they win them a go dump way. We have to tell them promptly people just vote them out cause them not see we when we hungry. Vote them out from Kingston to country. Vote them out, we have to tell them promptly. Cause when they win them a go dump way. Marky G, you know you the people them really want to see a great leader who will talk to we. Put on the boat and go, they go walk to we. Yes, go march to we. Because we have some guy with them on a intention, leading the country in the wrong direction. That's why we come to make we own a selection. This we are gonna do a wedding call the election. Vote them out cause them not see we when we hungry. Vote them out from Kingston to country. Vote them out cause when they win them a go dump way. So we are tell them promptly people just vote them out cause them not see we when we hungry. Vote them out from Kingston to country. Vote them out cause when they win them a go dump way. We have to tell them